Welcome, folks. It's great to have you on the Right Way Business Growth Discussions this afternoon. Hope you got your sandwiches and some coffee, keep you going, but more importantly, a notebook as well, because we've got some interesting discussions that we're going to have this lunchtime. And it's great to have you again. My name's Wayne Wright. I look after W Square Solutions, and I've got two exciting guests with us today, Melanie Harper and Dan Mordhob. Just would love to obviously introduce them. But before I do that, let me just sort of take you on a sort of direction of travel today, really, in terms of what we're trying to achieve. So, certainly, we want to look at the whole elements of BCorp and beyond profit. And from our introduction discussions, and hopefully we'll have some Q&A as well, so you've got an opportunity. But I'm quite sanguine about this stuff as well, and a lot of people tend to want to have questions during the presentation. So please, we see that we're live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. You'll probably see on your right-hand screen or whatever part of the social media platform you're on, there's a chat feature. Love to hear you. We may even get you on the stage to show your question, so a whole load of stuff that we can do here. But no, please use the chat to reach out to the guests, anything that sort of piques your interest as we talk about this important subject. So hopefully, I hope that's good, and we'll get going from there. So let's further ado, really. I just wanted to just hopefully get an opportunity to really just talk to a few of the folk here. So let me just introduce them as well. First one is Melanie Harper. And I think the best thing really, if I can just, there we go, get you in a better light there. So thank you, Melanie, for having you on board. So let me introduce Melanie to you guys. Melanie has had a distinguished career in marketing, and for nearly 10 years, she has worked with Beyondly and is currently working as a brand and impact manager there as well. So good to have you again, Melanie. But just a little bit about Beyondly, and I'm sure Melanie will correct me if necessary. But Beyondly is a BCorp certified environmental consultancy and compliance scheme as well for businesses here, Europe, and probably globally. Is that right, Melanie? I think so as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our clients are UK based, but we do work with clients overseas and around the world as well. Yeah, definitely.
100%, absolutely. And they're very much purpose driven, and so is Melanie. And as Melanie has helped Beyondly hold the prestigious Customer Service Excellence Award and the prestigious Investors in People Platinum. Beyondly is a carbon neutral company committed to achieving net zero emissions through the Race to Zero initiative. So again, welcome to the show, Melanie, and I hope you have a great time.
Thank you.
No worries. And again, those of you who are probably familiar with this young man, no introduction to Dan Mordhob, he joins us. So welcome, Dan. Hope you can hear us okay. Yep.
Yeah, all good.
Excellent.
How you guys doing?
All right, so let me introduce you to your audience as well. So Dan's a distinguished entrepreneur with a proven track record in leading transformative, that's probably a better word there, transformative digital campaigns for some of the world's most prominent brands. And as a founder of a wonderful creative agency, has elevated the agency to top tier status, achieving recognition as the 11th best UK agency for client satisfaction in the 2015 Drum Design Census. So fantastic achievement there. He's also been recognized as a former Kent Invicta Entrepreneur of the Year. And apart from running the marketing agency, he runs a network of around 300 impact entrepreneurs and leads and co-hosts a podcast just like this called the Wonderful People Podcast. And but in his spare time, advising and investing in startups as an angel investor. And if that's not enough, Dan is the founder and chair of the Wonderful Foundation, who supports global community projects focused on sustainability and development, reinforcing his personal and Christian faith commitment to impactful social responsibility. Is that enough?
That will do. That will do.
Good. Anyway, well, no, it's great to have you guys. And I really appreciate you giving up your time to come on the show today. And clearly, obviously, we're going to be talking about BCorp, and I want you to just get back into really just understanding a little bit. So from a sort of how can I put it? let's have a look at it from a perspective of what the sort of definition of a B Corp is. So let me just sort of just go through that initially and really try and understand exactly what's going on here. So as I said, first of all, from the sort of introduction perspective, I will just show this little definition here, which I've created earlier. And it sort of says, a B Corp is a not-for-profit business, and that's an important element. And I know the group here will tease that out. That is verified by B Lab to meet the high standards of social and environmental performance, transparency, and accountability. B Corps are different from traditional corporations, which prioritize financial profitability as they're committed to creating benefit for all stakeholders, not just shareholders. And I think that hopefully that's reasonably clear in terms of how B Corp has sort of morphed into this sort of social responsibility, but more importantly, benefit for all stakeholders. And that's the important bit, but also for profit as well. So hopefully I just wanted to highlight that as well, going forward as well. And so what I'd like to probably do really is really just truly understand from your perspective, folk, in terms of a couple of questions. And first of all, I want to really just ask both of you in relation to a little bit about your thought journey of wanting to turn your business into B Corp. And I know that Beyondly, Menonly has probably had an early start from 2022 or early 20s or 2020s. But I mean, just give us an idea of why did the organization felt that this was a really good thing to do? And I want to bring Dan in on the back of that as well.
Absolutely. Well, we started 18 years ago as Comply Direct, and we were a compliance scheme, but we've always operated sustainably. We've always tried to focus on being a business for good without realizing we're a business for good. And I think basically we started looking at our business as a whole, and I think it was just a natural next step for us to underpin our business ethos. But we realised it was a big commitment to the B Corp as well. And we knew that we had to put the time into it, and you get assessed over 5 areas: so governance, workers, customers, community, and environment. So it really let us look at what we do and really put some even more focus on it. So we also then rebranded in March 2023. So we became B Corp in autumn 22, and then we rebranded to Beyondly in March 23. And the rebrand came about is because originally we were a compliance scheme, but over the years we've introduced consultancy services. Some of those are legislation, some are not. Some people want to do them off their own back, which is what we want to do, is to help the planet. We want to help the environment that we're in. So it was just really a natural next step for us to underpin who we are, our ethos, and to go along with our rebrand as well, to really, put the focus on who we are. So yeah, that's in a nutshell where we became B Corp.
Sure, and and in terms of that journey, was there anything in particular? Was there that sort of aha moment, or discussion with a client or whatever it is, where you felt, okay, wow, this is something that we should really consider? How did you even hear about the word B Corp? Because I mean, that's something that is not really mainstream at this moment in time for businesses.
Well, it's funny because it must have been about 2019, 2020 when we first heard about it. And I can't remember exactly, but I think we had a few management meetings, and it kept popping up that people had heard about it. So we said, well, let's look into it, see what it is, see what value's in it. And we spent, a while looking into it, looking at companies who were B Corp and trying to understand if it was a good fit for us. And we realised how rigorous the application was, and it wasn't just a tick box to say you've got it. It was a big commitment, and we just felt it was the right thing for us to do as a business, because it's not just about becoming B Corp. It's once you become B Corp, you've got to show that you're having the impact. So every year you've got to create an impact report, and you've got to show that you're doing more and more as well, and you're increasing what you're doing. And even with your impact report, don't be afraid to say that things might have not quite worked out as you wanted to do. So it's not all about just saying we've done all these amazing things. It's about trying to just improve things all the time. And every year in our impact report, we always say, we ask you what, for example, we do what we call a materiality assessment every year, where we go out to all our stakeholders and ask them what's important to them. And then we bring that into our impact report as well.
Okay, no, so be nice to really delve into a little bit that aspect later on as well. So, but no, thanks for the overview as well. And from your perspective, Dan, about the same question. I mean, where have you guys come on that journey in terms of understanding or even being aware of BCorp and its value that you could have to really take your business to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what Melanie said, I think, is true for our journey. But just to kind of take a little bit of a step back, I think BCorp itself is about measuring a triple bottom line. So it's your impact on people, your impact on the planet, and your impact with profits. So as you mentioned from the get-go, it's not about making less profit or doing business in a different way per se. It's about what you do with that profit. And that slightly comes down to a sort of philosophical and fundamental reason for business. If business is only for profit and I'm here to maximize my own shareholder value, and that's the only purpose, then a BCorp conversation isn't really a relevant conversation. But actually, if the conversation is I'm a majority shareholder of the agency, and the conversation is very much, well, yes, we want to make profit, but we want to do something with it, as well as lining the shareholders' pockets. How do we help other stakeholders, whether that be non-profits in our area, whether that be what we do through the foundation, whether it be individuals we can support? Okay, that ticks that box. Well, we're a digital agency. And what does it mean for the planet? Well, actually, we use a lot of server space, so we should be stewarding the resources that we've been given. Okay, we've been looking into that. And then how we treat our staff. We're always endeavoring to try and do better, particularly as we've moved working environments from sort of a full office environment largely to a hybrid environment, now to a remote first environment. That's been kind of top of our management agenda. How do we treat our staff? How do we make sure we're looking after them holistically, not only in the production that they do, but also in like their mental well-being, their physical well-being? They're working from home a lot. How do we look at that? So those were the questions we were asking ourselves as a leadership team. Now, as we were coming up with answers for those questions, BCorp then becomes, oh, hang on, there's a standard for this. There's an accreditation for this. There's a framework for this. Oh, it makes sense. So for us, it was 2 and 2 making 4, not us trying to fit BCorp into our business.
Yeah, very good.
So BCorp was almost, it was a process to go through. I'm sure, but it was a validation, exactly that. So that's kind of been the journey we're on, and why BCorp has been an important part of that.
Okay, no, interesting as well. And when you looked at, do you look at any other organizations, either of you, in relation to, thinking, oh, wow, they're doing that, and we're seeing the impact and benefit that they're making. This is probably a nice journey that we should go on. You want to just pick that up, Dan, while you're going?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at lots of organizations because, to be honest, we were like clueless when you come in. You go, oh, BCorp looks good, sounds good. But then you're like, where do you start? Like, okay, we've got this big framework, called impact assessment. It's hundreds of questions, hundreds of evidence points. And I'm like, you kind of feel like you could drown a little bit at the beginning. So what we did is we looked at a lot of other agencies, so people in our industry. We looked at a lot of other clients or potential contacts. And we said, well, what are they doing? What's relevant to us? What's meaningful to us? What's authentic? What can we actually deliver? What can we actually do? And therefore, what changes do we need to make before we apply for the BCorp, go through the assessment?
Yeah.
So when we get to the assessment, we've actually got the evidence already there. So actually, market research was quite a big part of it for us, because there's certain questions in the assessment that basically aren't hugely relevant to a digital agency, but there are other questions where it's like, oh wow, we need to double down on that, or actually we need to go away and look at our suppliers and our supply chain. Oh, actually we haven't got a document for that. So just going through the assessment and looking at the competitors in our industry was a roadmap in itself, and led to a whole work stream in itself.
No, they're cool. And the same question to you, Melanie, about, did you seek and visit other people or talk to other people in relation to, the whole BCorp experience?
We did. We looked at if any of our competitors had it. We looked at other organisations as well, and we also got to find out about a local BLocal group in Yorkshire, which we went to. They meet twice a year, and that was good because that's for people who are B Corp, people who are looking to become B Corp, or people just interested in being a business for good. So we went along to those and asked. We talked to companies who'd been through the journey, and what they were like before. And it's interesting because we've always had really good benefits for our staff, we've always done good things, but we had nothing to bring it together. Whereas it was just interesting talking to companies who'd become B Corp, who had to quickly do a lot of things to become B Corp. So it kind of like, it was good because it gave us encouragement that we could do it.
Sorry, I lost you there.
Hello.
Okay. Yep.
I'm still here.
I'm still here.
All right. Well, no, I thought you were going to say something more, Melanie. I'd say you're on the roll there. Okay? But anyway, no, it's really important. I think to get some idea of peers and what doing, but also more importantly, just to validate the thinking as well, because you sometimes can pick up additional things in terms of what can add value to you becoming a sort of B Corp, by seeing how other people do stuff in the whole process as well. So no, I like that going forward as well. So and super important if those of you are thinking about that, talk to Dan or talk to Melanie and about how their journey as well, because I think that will give you some inspiration in terms of whether this is right for you going forward. And that sort of leads quite nicely and segue into that sort of next question in terms of why do you believe B Corp is important for businesses and business growth? Now, I appreciate there's a registrational element as well, but just give me the business case in terms of, because ultimately the bottom line is that as businesses, we don't just do things for the sake of it. We do things to make profit. And as you rightly point out, Dan, that sort of impact element is derived from profit, how we make impact on the people, planet, and obviously on financials as well. So just speak to why it could be good for businesses, or what businesses should probably feel that this could be work for them. What's the sort of headline thinking criteria? What sort of type of businesses? I appreciate all businesses who want to do that, because obviously clearly they don't want to their shareholders are shareholders and they're not structured to be able to do that. But for the smaller, medium-sized businesses that do not have that short shareholder bind that they have, in terms of external investors, private equity investors, or angel investors, if it's just your business, or you have a group of people together come across as shareholders, what the sort of criteria that you think, okay, this can really make a difference to the business? Because ultimately, if it adds value to the business, then it's worthwhile doing. You want to pick that one up, Melanie, in terms of you? So obviously, clearly, you guys have been going for a long time, as you said.
Yeah.
But it's only over the last few years that you're thinking this is what we should really do. But was there sort of business case in saying, okay, well, is this going to financially hamper us because if people look at us differently, or our customers look at it differently because of what we had this on board?
Well, we did a lot of research in looking at companies who had become B Corp, and actually it had a positive effect on profit as well. So we knew that it could go hand in hand, but we also, the nature of our business, we're an environmental compliance scheme and consultancy. So we are doing positive things for the environment already. And when we came to start looking at it, our MD and our senior management team were all very passionate about it, and were willing to realize how we're growing as a company, realizing actually we've grown from like 50. I've been here 9.5 years, and there's about 15 staff. There's now into the 50s. We just keep growing in terms of number of staff, number of services, and like profit. That is naturally happening, but that's happening from the good things we're doing. So it just felt like natural. Let's look at the B Corp and let's see if that makes a difference. And interestingly, the last 3 years, we're in the third year of what we call our Fund for Change, where we donate 5% of our net profits to charitable causes. This is the third year. It's been the highest pot we've had to be able to donate to charitable causes because our profit's gone up. But
So
that's been in line with, you know, introducing volunteering days for our staff. With all our staff get a wellbeing allowance. We've been doing the real living wage for the past few years.
Yeah.
We've introduced life leave for staff. So we're giving a lot more weight to society, to our staff, but profits increasing, and
Yeah.
it's just naturally happening. And it's like with our services as well. A lot of our services on the consultancy side are increasing as well. And since we've become B Corp, we actually offer a B Corp consultancy service training course. So one of our staff, Susanna, who's our lead consultant for sustainability and ESG at Beyondly, she's also a trained B Corp consultant. And along with our sustainability manager, Liz, they run a workshop and training session, basically offering a one-day training session, covering everything you need to know about the B Corp process, from completing their business impact assessment to what happens following submission and certification. And it's like a deep dive interactive training session, like for your organisation, giving your team like resources to move your business forward. But we wouldn't have been able to do that if we hadn't become B Corp and ourselves. So it's lent ourselves to grow services in the consultancy area as well.
You've been branching out in that other areas. So,
Yeah.
and from the customer perspective, then tell me about, you know, do sort of customers, and I mean, whether it's on the business winning part of it, whether they see that as a value and an asset in terms of what you're doing. I mean, how give us some feedback in terms of what the customers feel about you becoming a B Corp. Was that quite favourable?
Yeah, well, generally we've got really good feedback. I mean, there is a lot of people, there is companies out there who are ignorant to it, who still need educating, but we have seen more and more people receptive to it. And we've had companies join us, some really good brand names that are growing companies that have joined us because they know that we're B Corp. And that's really refreshing. I mean, we've got one of our services, packaging compliance, which is a legislation which you have to do if you meet certain thresholds. But we're getting companies come to us because we are B Corp and they want to work with us.
Yeah.
But we are mindful, though, there is companies as well that we work with that we're trying to educate because they don't see the value in it. And I think it's just part of, you know, I mean, what we have to do as a B Corp, like, group of people is to keep educating businesses around us to, you know, look at balancing people, profit and performance, you know, and planet, and the benefit of it as well. And, you know, there is a benefit to it. We can prove it with, you know, all the, you know, things we're doing for our staff, all the things we're doing for the community, but how our profits increasing as well. So, yeah.
No, it'd be good to cover that at the very end as well, in terms of that sort of additional part as well. And that would, I want to lead into that. But before that, I just want to ask the same question to you, Dan, in terms of, you know, the impact that you've sort of seen in your business in terms of actually making that change to B Corp as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I give a slightly different answer to Melanie, because I do agree and I've gone through a very similar experience to what Melanie's described, but some of our clients are very corporate. So within most tender and processes at the moment and briefing processes, ESG credentials are a big part of it. Now, the reality is there's ways of kind of not fudging, but working through ESG credentials that are a little bit wishy-washy, a little bit generic.
Yeah.
But by becoming a B Corp certified company, you have got really robust ESG credentials backed up by evidence, backed up by data. And so therefore, it has made some of our tenders and some of our proposals much stronger, because we've got the framework, the certificate, the validation that actually we are an ethical supplier to said client. So that's been a really strong benefit externally. Going back to something Melanie said, having said all of that, some clients like look at you and think, what are you on about? When you've got it in your slide deck or proposals, they're kind of, it's not reached their world yet. And so what we do at B Corp is about what we're doing to make the impact. The clients benefit from it. So there'll be certain projects that we do where we'll say a portion of your project, a portion of profit from his project might go towards one of our ecology projects. So, for example, we're doing a rewilding project in the UK to help to rewild some of the natural ecosystems around this country. So a client gets a benefit from us being a B Corp, whether they know, whether they like it or are interested or not. So there's got that kind of reciprocal benefit for a client by working with an agency that's B Corp certified. So we're kind of trying to weave it into our overall business offering. So whether you like it or not, it's built in. But
For sure.
if you want to work with an agency that has got some genuine ESG credentials, then here we are, and this is what they are.
It's really important, in fact, because I note, and you guys can inform me even better, that certainly the European Union. I know we've got the Brexit, the elephant of Brexit in the room, all the type of stuff. But the bottom line is that they have put in this key legislation earlier in the year, which obviously I know is going to be rolling out over the next 18 months or so, as the European Union normally do. But what they're basically saying that all companies who are doing business within the European Union will need to have this ESG reporting. Now, obviously, Melanie, you talked about some of the work that you guys are doing in terms of helping people to have the compliance side. But from your perspective, Dan, just speak to that a little bit more in terms of not only dealing with some of those big corporates, and they are also, but the fact is that they have to ensure that their supplier and partner networks have the same frameworks in place. And people don't understand that. The landscape has changed massively. It's a whole load of different, criteria for having suppliers and partners on people's, supplier networks.
Yeah, I think that's a really key part of from a B2B perspective in terms of the kind of clients we work with. I think that's a really important part of not only the B Corp certification, but just part of how to work with corporate clients moving forward. So with regards to the B Corp certification, we have to monitor our own supply chain. We have to make sure that we're following the latest anti-slavery laws, for example, and we've got good ethical practices with our own supply chain. So we employ staff from different countries across the world as contractors or subcontractors. We pay them all the minimum national living wage in the UK, although they're not in the UK. We have checks and balances for how they work, their working practices. We put into our contracts the maximum number of hours they can work, similar to UK law, although in their country law they could work extra hours, so on and so forth. So we've evidenced a lot of that. So when we're working with a corporate client, for example, we can evidence, our supply chain and therefore their supply chain, that this whole project will meet the highest ESG standards.
Yeah, and that end-to-end element is really, really important as well. And I presume you're doing the same thing, Melanie, as well, in terms of some of the work that you're doing with your customers and helping them to understand it, because it's a massive change and people don't really appreciate this train is coming and they don't know it's coming, type of thing.
Often people come to us and say, I need to do something, I want to do something, but I don't know where to start. And we offer an ESG service, but sometimes we have to break that down, and we have to break it down and do bits at a time, because sometimes it can be quite overwhelming. But it's led us to, work out how to help people, because since we've been doing materiality assessments, we've also started a better business strategy. And that includes doing interviews with the teams at companies and helping them do materiality assessments again. And it's just trying to help them not feel overwhelmed and trying to do too much at once, but do things step by step that are actually meaningful and that will actually have an impact. And that's not just ticking a box.
No, it's really important to say that, because again, this is and this maybe a little sort of side rabbit hole quickly, but not too deep, in relation to the sort of documentation and the work, to really, overall control the B Corp or the ESG type, elements of that. And is it an owner's thing, or basically are there sort of systems and processes and tools that are able to keep you abreast and keep you on track from a regulatory perspective? You want to pick that one up, Melanie?
In terms of, you mean for the B Corp?
Yeah, because
yeah.
because ultimately, like I said, it can be a sort of seen as another regulatory onerous tick box. You've got B Lab coming in and doing your audits and all that type of stuff as well. So it could be very heavily administrative wise, and for smaller business, it could be quite onerous. So again, could you just speak into the sort of is there tools and systems which will make it a lot more streamlined and easier for people?
Yeah, well, I think once you become B Corp, that's the hard, it's a rigorous process to go through. But once you go through, I think it's just ensuring that you're monitoring what you do across like planet, people, and profit. We call it performance. And what we do is we have different teams who help out. So it's not just only on one person. So for example, we're monitoring our scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. We've introduced like a car scheme share thing, shared miles. A few years ago, we moved offices and replaced kerosene heating with a ground source heat pump, but that wasn't one person doing it. It's basically it's across our business. So everyone's.
Who takes this? Sorry, I can't cross you, but who collates all this stuff? Because it is, I mean, you're telling me so much good things, but it has to be somebody, bless them, who's in the corner and actually, collating or evidence this thing going forward. So the point I'm trying to make is, from if you haven't got the resources in the business, well, let me ask another question. Do you have one person who does this in your organization, or is it something that you all are tasked with a little bit of thing, and then somebody just pulls it together? I mean, how's it work?
Well, our HR, we call it a talent and culture team. They're responsible for bringing in like things like the car share scheme and the benefits of that. So they're responsible for bringing in the staff benefits. As the brand and impact manager, I look after like the fund for change and all the impact side of things. Our sustainability team, so Susanna, who's our lead consultant for sustainability, she monitors our scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions because that's what her skill is, what her interest is, and
who pulls all the information together then?
She does, but she also does that for other companies. So she's skilled and she's got the experience to do it for the companies, but then she also does it for our own companies.
So dedicated to do that.
So if you was a company that didn't, we're lucky because we've got something in our house, but that's the nature of our company. But that's like things like that. You need to use an external company to help you do that. So don't think you've got to do everything yourself. You can go and get external help to help you with things like that, definitely.
That's a good point. Okay. And the same question to you, Dan.
I think when we were going through the application process, there's a lot of really sort of fairly granular detail and practical detail, which you may not have heard about, because obviously everyone's language is slightly different. So B Corp has a language, it has a set of evidence factors that it's looking at, and you might think, I don't see my business that way. No, it doesn't mean you're not doing it. It means you're not measuring it in that way, or you don't see it in that way, or you don't use that language. So what we did at the beginning was we worked with a consultant that put us through a program, and throughout each week in the program, he covered off a different area of the application or the assessment. And then he gave us a kind of checklist and a kind of crib sheet of everything we have to look at in terms of evidence. And, then you can kind of score yourself. It's a simple RAG report on one level going, don't have that, kind of have that, do have that. Sure. And then what we did is we then took that back to the business and went to different areas, excuse me, and said, right, we need to look at this. How are we doing this? How are we measuring this? We need to change it. So actually there was a change management process that went on throughout the assessment piece in order to align with some of the B Corp language, which is really helpful. And what it did is it meant that we could get our team engaged with something practical rather than talking about B Corp as a macro topic or as a theory. We were talking practically, going, well, look, you're dealing with servers here. We're moving towards carbon neutral. We're measuring our footprint. Servers are a large part of it. We put it into this sort of system that measured our carbon footprint. Right, that's your job. In the next 3 months, we're going to do this, this, and this in order to find this, this, and this evidence.
So you didn't have somebody who sort of dedicated to do that sort of thing? I mean, or you basically...
Yeah, I did. I dedicated one of my...
up into different teams to bring
split them up into teams, but put them back into a project manager. So I had a project manager that kind of pulled workshops together, made sure we collated notes. And then it was myself and one other that actually put it into the assessment to
Yeah.
do the final wording, the final upload of evidence and all of that. So all the practical stuff, you set up Google Drives and everyone puts their evidence in Google,
Yeah.
all of that administrative stuff. What it has meant is as we become certified, people know what it means for them. So my digital team knows what it means for them. My tech team knows, my design team knows. As an example, we picked up a client in the Middle East recently, and one of my staff members, asked for a meeting one-to-one with me. Had a meeting. They just said, obviously, with our B Corp certification, is there anything about this client we need to be aware of? So they'd actually picked up on the certification and what we stood for enough, and they
Very
were
good.
asking questions about the client, which was brilliant. Now, we'd already vetted the client, and thankfully everything was absolutely fine. But staff member just came up, was bold enough and engaged enough to actually ask that.
So it comes into the sort of also more of a pre-qualification for clients as well, and making sure the customers align with the culture and values of your organization. That's interesting.
And
Okay.
also not just culture and values, to take that step further, there's certain industries that B Corp certified companies shouldn't be working with.
Really? Now,
Yeah.
give us an example.
Yeah. So arms, ammunition, arms, anything to do with narcotics, illegal narcotics. So kind of, there are certain things that as a B Corp certified company, you basically can't work with these companies. If you do want to work with a particular company in that sector, you have to talk to B Corp themselves and say, look, we're doing this particular project for this particular client.
Yeah.
This is the impact it's going to have. Can you sign it off almost? Because they B Corp companies should not be going around promoting things that potentially are harmful to the environment or to people, so on and so forth. So there is actually a kind of a fairly rigid is the wrong word, but a fairly robust sort of guidelines around clients you can't work with.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm conscious of can't believe the time's flying already anyway, but if there are any folks on the call who just want to be able to add any questions, please, happy to take the questions as we go along and talk. We've got so much still to go through anyway. So yeah, use the chat and that will come up immediately on our screen and we can vet it and make sure that it's relevant to the conversation going forward. But carrying on our conversation, one thing I really want to talk about, and it's sort of the three elements of sort of people, planet, and profit. And this good example that you gave, Dan, in terms of one of your staff, recognizing that the impact of or the relevance of B Corp to your clients. But I want to just really delve a little bit more deeper into this social corporate responsibility, this element of purpose, because certainly in my running businesses here and abroad, there is a big shift in people coming through as an employee wanting to ally themselves with employers who have clear purpose in what they're trying to do and what they're trying to achieve. And I just want to just tease out some of the key purposes. I know Melanie before in the green room, we were talking about, some of the stuff in terms of what they were doing. But I just wanted to tease out some of the things that you guys do as a means of attracting this new generation of employees to our businesses who really want to not only, they want to work for something, but they want to go for something a bit bigger. And I suppose that social corporate responsibility piece. What bits are you, for example, tapping into externally outside of the business that is making an impact, coming back to that impact on planet parts of the B Corp philosophy? Melanie, you want to pick that one up firstly?
Well, in terms of making sure that I'll start with our team first of all, and making sure we've got part of the fundamental part of being a B Corp was reforming our business vision, purpose and values, and that aligned with the B Corp culture and aims. So we updated our vision to better, fairer, sustainability world for all. We updated our purpose and our values. We kept the three, we had added two more, but the values are they're through what we do as a business. So when we do our reviews, you've got to show that you're having behaviors across all the different values that we have, and that goes through to our recruitment as well. So we make sure that with our recruitment that we make sure that we people understand our culture, the positive culture we have, they understand our business ethos, they understand what we are as a B Corp, and that does, people do come to us, and they've come to us and done research, and that's what's attracted them to us. So it does work, and we do get the right kind of people working for us who do believe in what we do. But we're doing more and more with like outside as well. So obviously with all the volunteering we do, with our Fund for Change, a lot of the the charitable causes, they can be for anywhere in the UK, but a lot of them often are local charities or charitable causes. So we get involved with them. They so we get people. Like we're getting known not just as a commercial business, we're getting known for more than that. But then that that helps as well. For example, we'll be involved in local Rotary, and that brings might bring business in, and for example, the last 12 months we've been to more events than we've ever been to, because people are exhibitors and people doing events have seen want us to go, but then we end up going, but then that gets more leads in, and that gets more, so it has a positive effect. So
I see that. And just take us a little bit, just very quickly, in terms of when you just talked about your vision and your purpose, did you sort of focus it around a particular area? For example, we want to focus around reducing child poverty, for example, or creating sustainable water systems for the world's poorest, that sort of thing. Did you sort of even get a bit more granular around the sort of clear purpose as well?
Well, I think in terms of the purpose, we obviously, because as a business, we sell sustainability services and compliance. So everything we sell is helping the environment. So we wanted to make sure that we actually work with an external consultant when we're looking to update our vision and values and purpose. So our purpose is leads, inspires and educates to positively impact society and environment. And we wanted to make sure that our purpose summed up us in terms of what we sell, but who we are as in terms of our impact side of things as well, and the people. So it was a long process, because it wasn't just a quick, it's going to be our purpose. We had to really think about it, and that it really had to demonstrate who we were as who we are in terms of a business selling services, but in terms of our community impact, in terms of our staff, our people, all our stakeholders. So that's where we were with it, and that's the challenge we had when we came to update it, and that's what we came to.
Interesting. And the same question to you, Dan, but it's quite funny, you're slightly different in the sense that you have an additional foundation allied to what you do. Now, I don't know if they're two separate entities, but tell me about how you engage your people in terms of the purpose, or are the two synonymous in terms of, the foundation is the vehicle which provides our social corporate responsibility and our B Corp purpose element, driven element for what we do. Is that how you set it up?
And both. So we had the wonderful foundation since 2017, which has been where we've been putting a portion of our profits and our skills into helping community projects and community leaders in the UK and abroad, helping them to become more sustainable through what they do. But it was quite important for me not to impose that on all the staff, because that's something that we've chosen to do. That's something that myself and my wife as majority shareholders have chosen to do, not necessarily the whole company. So we put a portion of our profits into the foundation, but also we work with each individual team member to help them look at and explore what purpose means for them. So what kind of causes are you interested in? What kind of programs or areas are you interested in? And so, for example, with the environmental piece, when we're going to be donating a portion of our profits into an environmental project, we do a team poll. So we give them 3 options based on the feedback that they've given us in their staff satisfaction form. We know the kind of things they're interested in, so we give them 3 options. we say, look, we can put towards this, or towards this, A, B, or C, and then we just get simple voting system to say, right, where do you think we should go for this quarter? And actually, it means all staff are engaged with how we're utilising our profits,
Yeah.
and they're engaged with the environmental impact as well. So, for example, another example would be with volunteering. We give each staff extra volunteering days so that they can then go and do projects that they're passionate about, not just projects related to the foundation. So it's kind of like an and both. They know that we, by commitment, have committed a portion of our profits to the foundation, but
Yeah.
they also know that we're doing projects that they're interested in and that they're all about as well. And we find that actually, a majority of our team are they're quite happy to go along with it, because they're like, you're doing something, let's get behind it. And I think there's a purpose-driven kind of generation that just want to see a change made and want to see a difference made. And so if you're doing something, they'll get behind it, provided there's no fundamental
Tell me about the
disagreement with it.
metrics. And tell me about the metrics of that, because ultimately, we talk about, it's about impact. That's the bottom line. So it's not about the fluffy elements. We go along, we go to a meeting here, we do a little voluntary here, or whatever it is. It's a little bit more than that. And I think talk to me about, both of you, if you don't mind. And I'll start with you first of all, Dan. In terms of what are the results? What are the impacts that you're seeing? Forget the profit elements as well, and we'll talk about that, because it's super important as a business, because the profit drives all the elements of what you're doing. But tell me about the impact in terms of the people side, the planet side as well, that you have got and derived from your business.
So one of the good things about the B Corp certification is that you have to have the evidence of not only what you're doing, but you have to evidence what you're doing. So it's easy to say, it's a primary example, like staff satisfaction survey. It's easy to say we do it, but we have to evidence it, and we have to evidence a score. So long and short is we do an annual staff satisfaction survey, and then we do a 6-month review in between that. So what we're looking for is, are our team more engaged, more happy, and feeling better about working at Wonderful year in, year out, and how is B Corp helping that process?
Yeah.
So that's kind of quite a relatively hard KPI and metric, because we want happy teams. We want our employees to be really, delighted at working with us. That's number one. Number two is we've set ourselves a goal to offset any carbon footprint that comes through our servers and digital presence, to offset that with largely UK, because most of our servers are UK based, largely with UK projects that are putting back into the environment. So our digital footprint will ultimately become carbon neutral. Now, that's quite a hard KPI, because that impacts our servers, that impacts the way we use websites, that impacts things like plugins. There's quite a material impact to that that for us. But it's quite a hard KPI. So if we're looking at our impact on our staff and impact on the planet, we're setting some quite hard KPIs and high bars, and B Corp is there to help us get to that process.
And just give me another example, because again, I think people want to also feel in terms of the social, corporate responsibility bit. What you talked about some of the people that you're giving volunteer elements and whatever it is. Volunteer opportunities in terms of their time, working time to do some stuff. What are some of the impacts that they've achieved by doing that?
Yeah, so was that a question for me? Sorry, I'm just talking.
So carrying on.
Okay. So give an example. We did a community project with something called the Design Community Hub recently. So our designers and our developers, half of our team, for argument's sake, actually helped to set up this project called the Design Community Hub. And the idea of that project was to help designers coming out of school, further education, higher education, to connect them with potential mentors and to find jobs and to find employment opportunities. So our team were volunteering to help. They designed it, they built it, we put it online, we were helping to promote it, went to events, and actually that directly helped several people to go from education directly into employment. So they were super buzzing
what I'm
about a
talking about.
project. Yeah, super buzzing about a project like that, because they're like, wow, I'm a relatively young designer myself, and I've just helped some people to get into the design industry.
There you
So
go.
for them, that was like a kind of real, like,
Yeah.
okay, this stuff is real. It's not just,
100%.
corporate talk. Yeah.
Same question to you, Melanie. What the sort of hard numbers that you've seen from the sort of, how your people have impacted the planet, inverted commas, and communities?
Well, every year we do an annual survey that our staff have the opportunity to comment on the things that we do already and to give ideas what we can do, and we monitor that as well. So we always say, what we asked for, and then what have we done. So we see the impact of that is that they're having an influence on what we can do for them. It's for example, they wanted to. They were talking about how they could make it more cost effective to get to work. So we introduced like flexible working, but we introduced the car share scheme. So we ensured we implemented a scheme, and we did a refresher on it and some training on it. And that the impact that I have for staff is that they're saving money by car sharing, and that they can claim back if they car share certain amount of days a week. And the impact for them is that they come in feeling more happier, because they've been able to claim the money back, and the people in the car, it's not cost them anything to get to work. So in terms of staff, that impact's been brilliant. But the impact as well, for example, some of the volunteering we do, one of the things that we do is it's a local charity and we go at Christmas and we help pack up presents for families who wouldn't be able to afford to have presents if people haven't donated them. So we help get the donations in, we help go and wrap them, we help pack them. But the impact when they come back, what it's had on them realizing how lucky they are, and just the positive effect it's had on them is brilliant.
No, 100%. And Dan may know this, but anyway, but certainly my organization, we get very much involved in our local basketball club, Mason Warriors. I chair the organization as well. We have seen the sort of elements of creating leaders of tomorrow. So we've got kids who just want to play, but it's a lot more than just wanting to play and to learn basketball. Yes, they will have a route to the elite route, but invariably, most of the time, they just want to play and be good people. But so we want to instill the disciplines of, hard work, working in a team, being the best that you can do, leaving it all on the court, how to win, how to lose, all the virtues that they typically, honestly, don't learn as much at the school as they should do. And we try and teach them those people to be the best people that they can be as leaders for tomorrow. And we've seen incredible, these guys who are maybe have autistic or neurodivergence tendencies, whatever, take on real strong positions in leadership within, whether the NHS, police, ambulance, community solicitors. I can go on, really, the amount of people that come and even come back with their kids back to the club. and more importantly, seeing the club grow on the result of it, able to do a lot more for the community, because, young people, they need stuff to do rather than be on their phones. So, we've seen our club grow over the 25 years to 300 strong as a result of that. And that's the result of just, consistently talking about the same message going forward. So I totally concur with you, but I'm a big one about measuring that impact in the community, because that's what it's all about, really, at the end of the day. And people sign up to those things when they hear it. So well done to you, both of you, on that as well. Oh, my days, our time. Anyway, look, I just want to just finish off, really, in terms of just some wise wisdom and thoughts in relation to what a person or business needs to do to prepare to be BCorp. What's the sort of the starting point? Now, obviously, I know the obvious one that you're going to say, Melanie, but I'll get to you in a minute for the obvious solution to that one. But from your perspective, Dan, as somebody who's been through it, what sort of first steps that people can do to really to think of that journey? Because I think, it's important for businesses to be really sort of clear at the outset before they sort of jump in. It's not a panacea that solves all your problems as a business.
Right. Yeah, I think just talking really practically, what we did is we signed up to B Corp to the B Impact Assessment, reviewed the assessment, went away and kind of licked our wounds for a little bit, going, okay, wow, well, we need to do a lot more here, or we need to
Yeah,
change what we're doing here. And actually, we spent 6 months reworking some of our key kind of just really practical things like documents that we didn't quite have. We knew we were doing it, but it wasn't documented, or
yeah,
we've got the evidence once, but we haven't redone it again for 6 months. So
yeah.
it was really practical, and that was the most beneficial part of it, I think, internally, was to really sort of pull ourselves up in the evidence for each of those areas. So when we then went and filled in the full application or the full assessment, we were already semi there because we've been doing it for 6 months. So I suppose it's not going to be the same for everyone, but if you are interested in the B assessment, register, look at the assessment, and then start to rework it through your business and work it through each of those areas. And the conclusion should be, okay, we're working towards B Corp. This is a good thing. I would argue that for any business to look at that assessment and look at someone like I go, oh, hang on, we don't do that. Oh, hang on, we don't do that. It's
Sure,
good
sure.
business. It's not. There's nothing in there that's some kind of secret club. It is just good ethical business. So I'd encourage a lot of people to at least look at the assessment and get involved with it from an operational perspective within your business, even if you don't become B Corp certified.
Sure, sure. And could you put that in the chat, Dan, if you've got, I don't know if you've got the link there, that, just put it in the chat and that can go to all the other social media platforms. And the same question for you, Melly. Now, conscious that we've got a minute and a half really around that.
Well, completely agree with what Dan said, is that, take a look at the assessment and see what the questions are before you actually get into it. We did exactly the same as that. And we, even though we were doing a lot of things already, we took quite a lot of months to actually improve things before we actually did the
Yeah, I love
actual
that.
assessment.
Mhm.
We didn't just blasé thinking, let's just do it, and nobody should do that. And it's not an easy task to do. You need to be able to put time in to do that. So time to actually look at the questions and see, because actually some of the things that you might be surprised, actually some of the things that you do would actually count towards it. You might just need to report in a different way. You just might have to just tweak something with it. There might be you might be surprised. You might think, oh my gosh, I don't think we could become B Corp. Have a look at it and see, and there might be things where you think, actually we could quite easily do that, but we need some time to do it. So give ourselves X amount of months to do it, and then we'll put the application in. So I think it's just taking the time and not rushing it, and just having the time and and to understand it's not a quick thing, it's not an easy thing. You've got to be committed to it, and it's got to be something that once you're committed to it, you're committed to it forever, kind of thing. It's not something you do leave. So that obviously that, and obviously we offer a course that helps you with that. Interestingly, we met someone at a B local course meeting who was looking to become B Corp, and they were the first ones to come on our course. So that's how it works, because they were a bit like, I'm trying to do it, but I'm not getting a lot of support from my business, and I don't know where to start with it. So we helped them with that, and then they're on their journey now.
Perfect. Thank you, folks. Really do appreciate our time has always gone. Anyway, let me just finish off with a couple of things anyway that may be of benefit to folk, really, and a sort of few things to take away. There's a little Blue Peter one that I did a little earlier, but I'm sure you got so much out of the conversation today. So thank you, folks, for that. But that really top end, really, you've got to really ensure that what you're doing is what is important for the business and more important for your customers. If what you're trying to achieve, it doesn't really line or solve particular customer needs, is super important. We talked a lot about the new European regulation, so really keep an eye on that, certainly if you're dealing with European businesses. But more importantly, sometimes your own customers will be European business, and they're going to be demanding that of you in the UK setting. So just be really cognizant of that coming through the piece as well. And again, and I'm thinking Melanie talked about that quite eloquently in terms of ensuring that your branding touches every aspect, through all aspects of the organization, not just a one-time hit. It's not a nice thing to do. This is life now. This is your business. This is what defines you. This is what makes you different. This is what makes you unique. It's part of, and Dan's eloquently talked about that, your value proposition, what makes you different from anybody else, really, in terms of your business. and that can be quite a powerful process. Obviously, Melanie's organization, Beyondly, has grown massively in terms of people and profit, and that has allowed them to do other things as well. And that leads on to the third aspect: get your people involved. You know, it has to be purpose driven. I'll put an example of Tom's shoes that maybe you're familiar. If you're not, then please Google it. Look at the videos. Super inspiring, purpose-driven businesses. You know, every time you buy a pair of shoes, part of that process of buying the shoes goes to buy another set of shoes for disadvantaged folk around the world as well. And really, really inspiring. And more importantly, their people go on the missions to deliver the shoes to people. So it's not a matter of just a simple purpose element. It's really showing those things in real practical times as well. So just finishing off as well, if you need some help and support, clearly reach out to Dan, Melanie, and myself. We have an opportunity to chat on from our free business coaching session, and reach out to the guys on LinkedIn. They'll be able to, you know, hopefully help you to navigate your way if necessary. They don't bite, so please reach out again and just say that you've been on this podcast, and away you go. I think we're done, folks. We are certainly done. Thank you again. Really appreciate your time, and wish you a best afternoon. Thank you, Melanie. Really appreciate you and the team there at Beyondly. And
Thank you.
you're wonderful people. Wonderful. So well done, guys. Thank you, folks, again for joining in. Have a great afternoon and speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye.